Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Vendor Spotlights. And I am here today with a very special guest. Her name is Miriam Cunha, and she was actually also on the summit. She was an expert on the summit, and so she may be familiar to you. And I'm thrilled because we're talking about something that I have an interest in, and it's about the Mayan calendar. And she's going to be talking about synchronicities that are going on in our world today. She's going to talk about the Aztec calendar and the Mayan calendar, and I may have got that slightly off, but she will correct me if I didn't phrase that properly. And so if you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments. Type in replay if you're watching the replay, and if you're here live with us, type in any questions that you may have for Miriam today. So before doing that, I am using a platform called StreamYard. And StreamYard is what makes this so much more enjoyable for you to watch. It's my streaming platform. However, there is some Facebook security around that, and they need to have your permission to show your name and your photo from Facebook. So if you are commenting, please hop over and grant StreamYard permission to view your name and picture at streamyard.com/Facebook. And if you're watching from YouTube, welcome. And if you're catching the replay on Instagram, TV, or even listening to this on one of the podcasts, welcome again. And I hope that you enjoy this show. So we're watching and we're talking with Miriam Cunha. She'll be talking about the Mayan calendar, synchronicities that are relating to our world situation today. Miriam is the founder of Transvibrating, and she is an author. She's a metaphysics teacher, Reiki master, spiritual coach and healer, psychic medium and shaman, Mayan oracle and tarot reader, and she's from Guatemala and Brazil. She now lives in Kelowna, and she loves to sing, play music, and create art and do crafts. And so thank you. I'm going to bring her on right now. Hello, Miriam. Thank you for joining us today. I'm loving the topic today because the Mayan calendar and anything Aztec and Mayan and ancient, I love ancient civilizations. I find them fascinating. In fact, I've been watching Ancient Aliens on Netflix lately, and it really dives into all of the history and these monuments and everything that we see around the world and ley lines and all that stuff. Anyhow, sidetrack.
That series is on my list to watch.
It's really good, actually, and it's really well done. And what I'd like to talk about with you today is, of course, the Mayan calendar, and you're gaining your insights because you are a Mayan oracle reader as well. You are immersed in this. You have so much knowledge, and I'm loving that you're able to share that with us today. So remember, viewers, if you're watching, grant StreamYard permission if you're on Facebook to allow that picture and your name to show up. And if you're watching from elsewhere or listening on the replay, welcome. Thank you for taking the time for tuning into this show, and congratulations on listening in and giving us the time of your day to allow us to come in and share what we love to talk about. Yeah. So Miriam, you're from Brazil and Guatemala. So how long have you been in Canada, and when did you start to really get into everything that you're into right now?
Well, I was born in Guatemala and raised in Brazil, but I spent a few years in Guatemala because we went back there when I was a teenager. And I was actually introduced to this calendar when I was in Brazil, because I missed Guatemala, and then I thought, oh, this is very interesting. I want to learn. There was a group in Brazil. It was a self-learning group, and we were learning all these symbols that you can see on the background, and the numbers. Those are the Mayan numbers, the dots and the bars. And the Mayans had different calendars, but I'm going to explain that later on. I'll answer what was your other question? How did I get into all of that?
What sparked your interest and brought you down into becoming like you have so many modalities, but they're all also very similar too. So Like what brings you to the world of like the
That
history and
I
all of that?
believe that I was born already with a certain, I would say, mission to open up and remember who I was, and bring all this information and start sharing, especially now. And since I was a child, because my dad was studying parapsychology and hypnotherapy, and
Hmm.
he brought home a book called "Where the Gods Astronauts" from Eric von Däniken, and
Hmm.
that was the first book I read at 9 years old. And
Oh,
I
geez.
was like fascinated with that, and I was like, "Oh, these aliens have been here forever," and that's how it everything started. When I was a teenager, my dad said, "Oh, you should stop with all of that. You're gonna go crazy." But he started it. Well, and I realized that once you start opening your mind for certain things and knowledge, there is no closing again. You just can't go back and unknown. you you
Yeah,
you get aware of things, and you just want to know more, right? So
yeah,
from there, I went through. I entered different groups of studies, and I don't belong to any group anymore, but I did belong to the Rosicrucians and other magic groups, and did become a Reiki master. And at one point, you have to choose what tools do you really like to work with, because there's so many things and they all lead to the same thing, is self knowledge. And you
yeah,
start not looking at the books anymore, because you start understanding that everything is inside of you. And you just meditate, close your eyes, channel, and the information comes, and you learn how to trust yourself, right? So that's a summary of the path until now.
yeah. And I know, like I'm excited that you're on here today. Like people may even recognize you from when we were gathering in person at the Holistic Market and Psychic Fair, because you've been a vendor there for a long time now. Like and you got your spot on the stage. You always have those lights going and very intriguing and interesting. And you've been doing readings for people there as well. And so, yeah, this is great that we get a chance now in this online format to kind of dive a little deeper with you and find out, okay, well, what exactly is this Mayan calendar, and how is that relating to us, and what synchronicities that you see that you're going to be sharing with us. So really, really looking forward to diving into that. So, so where would you like to start with, Miriam?
I guess showing some images. Uh,
Okay.
if you can share the screen. Yeah, okay. So on this image here, this is a little software somebody developed, the one I'm moving.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it here in front. And this software actually translates the Gregorian calendar to the Mayan, to this specific Mayan calendar. And before we go into this, well, actually, this is the day of today. As you can see, we are on a day that it's the red serpent. It's a cosmic red serpent, and
Okay.
I know it's cosmic because this is the number 13, and 13 is the frequency of the cosmos. So and this is the serpent, and this one is the red moon. So it's guided by the red moon. And when I look at the symbols, I know what they mean. So I actually can understand what kind of energy the day brings. And
Oh,
by what I see here, the serpent is um, instinct of survival, and also the Kundalini energy and the sexual energy of our bodies and everything.
mm-hmm.
And the moon, it's purifying emotions. So it's a day uh, of awakening your sexual energy and your Kundalini energy and your knowledge by purifying emotions and transcending everything, because the cosmic frequency, the number 13, is the transcending point of the sequence of 13 numbers. Okay,
Okay.
so I
And so
explained.
that's just, but that's what comes up for. specifically for today with our calendar, like where we're at right now today. So this is
This
the
is
energy for today that
for
you see
today.
here.
Yeah, for
Okay.
today. The day of
Yeah.
what's day? June
Oh boy.
2nd.
June 2nd. Yeah. 2020. For
I
those
use
watching the replays.
so the idea would be to stop using the Gregorian calendar and just go by this calendar, but we're a little far from that a little. But we can use both. So I go back and forth because we gotta schedule things like today, June 2nd, we're here streaming live. But
Hmm.
I also go to see what kind of energy it's every day, and you have the specific energy when you were born, so you can actually understand what you came here to do and to learn
Oh,
through these calendars, which is very, very interesting. There are
and is
lots
that
of layers. Hmm,
and that's something that you do with your clients too, is take a look at their birthdays and see what that shows with the Mayan calendar then?
exactly, and do an
Okay.
interpretation. And
Do people need to have like the time that they were born to, or is just the
mm,
day and
no, just the day.
just the day is good?
The
Okay.
time doesn't make much of a difference, except if you're like I was born at midnight, exactly
Oh,
midnight.
oh.
So my mom had to choose the day before or the day after, and she
uh,
chose the day after. But I feel by my studies on this calendar that I have both energies of both days. So
right,
sometimes I'm more into the energy of the 26th of September and the other more on the 27th of September. So that's the only difference, but it's not like astrology of the exact time of the position of the
right.
planets. It's
Okay.
more about the energy of the day that it's being sent by the central sun of the galaxy, which
Mm,
was known as the Hunabku god for the Mayans.
yeah.
And this, can you see? Yeah, my mouse here.
Yeah.
This symbol in the center of the calendar, it's the Hunabku symbol, which is very similar to the yin and yang.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
also,
There's like the two colors and it's equally.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
I'll
spiral
describe
mixing
that
both.
for people watching on their phones or smaller devices or listening to this on the podcast later. I'll just try and describe that a bit. But yeah, it's a center circle part, and then the circles all around the rest of that. And yeah, it does have that feeling of the yin yang symbol.
So that is one of the representations of this particular calendar, and the name of the calendar is Zolkin.
Okay.
This word here, Zolkin. And the Mayans used different calendars for different things. And this calendar was their spiritual calendar, and that's the one I have been diving into. I
Hmm.
wasn't really interested on the other calendars because I wasn't doing agriculture or other things. So this one was my focus. It has been my focus. And here I do a little explanation about the misconceptions of the end of time, because we went through this
Oh,
2012 talk
yes.
about the end of the world. And actually the calendar pictured here is the one you have on your background, which is an Aztec calendar.
Yeah, this is my blanket I picked up in Mexico on one of my trips.
Yeah,
I'm like, I want one of those. I made room in my suitcase, and I'm like, it's coming back with me.
and the Aztecs were more in Mexico than they were not in Guatemala. In Guatemala, they were the Mayans, and well, the Mayans were spread through Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Belize, and the Aztecs came later, and they were in Mexico.
Mm.
So, and they also had their calendars, which were very similar ideas and symbols.
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious. I'm just going to read what's on your cartoon image that you have there. So it's got the two Mayan guys. One got a chisel in his hand, and they're taking a look at this big rock, which he's carved into the calendar. And you've written, so how come it ends in 2012? And the other guy's like, I ran out of space on the rock.
it was that simple. and and here we're waiting for the end of the world. The universe and our world here, it's full of ends and beginnings, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, is not it wasn't the end, and there's not going to be an end. There are going to be ends and beginnings always,
Mm,
and cycles, right? And that's how
okay.
this Zolkin calendar works. It works on cycles, cycles of 260 days, but in a fractal mode of understanding, it could be 26,000 years. So
Mm,
it could be 260 days or 26,000 years. Or
wow.
it's a fractal concept. I have a picture here that, okay, before we go into fractals, because it's a little bit more complex, this is a picture that shows the Zolkin calendar are those two on the left. Well, it's left for me, but if you're watching, it's on your left side of the screen. Those two ones here. So
Mm-hmm.
those circles, they move around each other, making combinations of
Okay.
frequencies and energies. And this big one here, the line on the vertical line, it's the 365 days year calendar.
Uh-huh.
So those two little wheels go around the year
Okay.
and they make combinations.
Oh.
So, so this the long count calendar, actually they counted as 360 days, and they had those 5 days as a party time.
Oh.
And the 260 days calendar also has 1 day party time in between the each uh,
Each
each
cycle?
cycle, yeah. And then you have the Haab calendar with 365 days that measured civil time for them. So they had different calendars for different things. And we're going to be looking at the Zolkin, the 260 days calendar, which
Mm-hmm.
actually are the days of Venus, when Venus turns around the sun. So
Mm,
around, like, the year, Venus year is 260 days. And talking about Venus, that's why we're going through all this turmoil right now. Venus is
mm,
retrograde, and it's causing. Venus represents love and care and beauty, and all of that being retrograde. It's like a reset, and that's why there's so much violence erupting right now,
mm,
because we are resetting. So
mm,
it might look horrible, but we have to be neutral to looking at all that stuff and understand that it's a cycle, like all these cycles, the Mayan cycles, and also the astrology cycles, and this will pass, and we will come out of this much better than we have been. It's
mm.
just this in between. It's like moving from one house to another house, and you have everything in boxes, and you don't find anything anymore, and everything looks chaos. But then you move to your new house, and you start putting things into place, and then you feel good again.
Have the order and
Yeah,
structure back. Yeah.
that's what's happening right
Okay.
now. So if we focus on our present and dive into all the media fuzz, the media is making it more of a drama, right? So I don't even
Mm,
have TV, but I watch sometimes on on the internet, and I just found myself watching too much. So 2 days ago, I was like, no, I don't want to look at this anymore.
right.
Because if you're not neutral at looking at it, better don't, because then you're,
That's some great advice. Like if you're not neutral in your feelings when looking at something, then
yeah, you start
for the sake of
getting it.
your own self and self-preservation, need to really look away and deal with it until you're able to come back to it in a
it
neutral state again. Yeah.
exactly, and
Hmm.
then ask what is it that you can really do about it, right? And I
Right.
find that the most important thing that we can all do right now is work on ourselves. It's
Mm,
letting go of all the stuff that is surfacing. But for that, we have to be paying attention to ourselves. So meditating all the
mm,
time. Meditation should be a constant.
Hmm.
Like we're talking here live streaming, but we can be in a meditative state, being present on this here and now, paying
And
attention to this, right? And that's what meditation is bringing the
focused energy.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this graphic I have here, it's a little bit more complex, but it's the idea of the earth in relation to this calendar, which is, in my opinion, a genetic code of the whole creation of this galaxy.
Hmm.
This calendar, uh, it's big. It's big. So here they made a relationship with God, and God would be Hunabku, or the central sun of the galaxy. So where the creation of the galaxy spread through and created Earth and all everything else on the galaxy. It's too big for us to understand it fully now, but we can ask our higher selves to bring more insights about that. Sometimes I get insights that are very difficult to explain in words, because you see it visually, you understand inside, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is what it is. Like looking at yourself, who you really are. At one point, I saw myself just pure energy, and so light, and I was like, wow, this is who I really am. And I'm inhabiting this body here, but it's pure energy, just danced, right? And okay, so this in the middle of the graphic here. It's
Yeah.
that same calendar we looked at before, the Zolkin, but in a
Okay.
different representation or printout. It's a linear printout. And as you can see here, it looks like a DNA code.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like the helix, kind of sideways, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna move here. Okay, just to understand this concept of time for the minds, we have to dive in a little bit into fractals, and fractals are patterns, basically. So if you look at this colored picture here and you cut any little piece here, it will be this image on the right side. Oops.
Yeah.
And I put it mute, but the alarm wasn't mute. And then if you cut any piece of this one here, you get this one on the bottom, and it's the same shape. So
Oh, so
that's
it's like they take the big piece and take a part of that out, and it has that same
pattern, and
pattern, and then a
yeah,
piece of that is the same pattern.
yeah,
Oh, that's why
yeah,
it's fractal. Oh,
yeah. So a
okay.
fractal, it's a
Okay.
piece of the pattern, and that's what time was for the Mayans.
Mm.
And this picture actually
Oh,
it explains better. It's
there's
like if
like
you have, yeah,
that's a hand with all the fingers being hands. And those
exactly,
are being
exactly.
look like little trees, actually.
So
Like a
that
rip.
DNA pattern that created a hand can
Mhm.
create hands out of hands, and that's what a fractal means.
It's almost
And
like those funhouse mirrors in like at a fair or something. You go into those crazy houses and there's mirrors everywhere and everything looks a bit distorted, but you get that one where it shows it going the image upon the image upon the image until like infinity. Keeps
exactly.
going deep in. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and understanding this concept of fractals makes you understand the concept of infinity, because
Mm,
we're all told, oh, the universe is infinite, and the energy is infinite, everything's infinite. But what is it really, right? It's cycles and patterns. So
yeah.
we are kind of surfers of waves of patterns. And this calendar, when we actually, this image here shows the same calendar applied to the history of the world.
Oh,
So I just want to show
it's
you.
kind of small to see to really pick up a lot of that right now, but yeah, you'll explain that to
Let
us.
me put this. So can you see this calendar here?
Yeah, yeah,
So you see the helix here.
yeah, yeah.
So this is the same calendar printed
Okay.
like that. And okay. when and here is the same calendar on the bottom,
Okay.
but
Oh, yeah.
somebody put all the 13,000 years cycle that
Oh.
of humanity, actually 26,000, right? Because it goes countdown and then goes to the middle and goes up.
Mm.
So every little rectangle of this, it's a cycle of years that we've been through in humanity, and we've been through everything in 26,000 years, and we're here on the last one. We're on the last one.
That's where we're at right now?
Yeah, on the beginning of the next one, and that started in 2012. So it wasn't
Oh,
the end of the world. It was
the end of
the
that
end of a
cycle.
cycle, but not in
Oh,
one day, not in one year.
right.
It's
Okay.
years. We're still going through that.
Oh, well,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, and
Given where we're at.
for what for what we see now, we're peaking. We're getting into the peak of the transformation.
Mm,
And once we go through that, then we'll start again on this beginning of the cycle, of the bigger cycle, and start a new wave, which in my concept of understanding, it's a spiral. So you go through everything in a circle, and then the next one is a spiral above or below.
oh,
If
so it spirals up and just keeps going. There's
spiral, yeah.
there's like no, it's almost like knitting. When you
Yeah,
you pull a thread and it keeps going and going and it unwinds itself. It's like it just keeps going,
exactly.
wrapping around and around and around. Okay.
And every one of those little rectangles, cycles, they have
Yeah.
an energy, which, when we go back to the fractal idea, it's
Mm-hmm.
also the same energy of one day, right? So
Mm.
one of those here is the red cosmic serpent that we went through in history. And today we are experiencing during the day the same frequency energy that
Mm.
once we experienced during a longer period of time for our history.
Okay.
So all these different things that happen in the world are related to the frequency, to the script, let's say, right?
Yeah.
To the script.
Yeah.
And here is the calendar in a cleaner picture that you can understand how the combinations work.
Okay.
So on the left side, you have the symbols. Those are 20 symbols. They are archetypes, and each one of those represent a different kind of energy. And the first one is the dragon, the red dragon, which is the mother energy, the birth energy, beginnings. The
Mm-hmm.
second one is the white wind. The white wind is the spirit, the communication, and that relates to the creation of the world too, because first was that dragon mother energy, and then the spirit comes out of it and starts communicating, which is the white wind. And then the third one is um, the night. The night is like the darkness of the universe, where you dive into and gather all the elements to create something. So
Mm.
it's the dream, represents dreams and intuition as well.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one is the seed, and so the seed is planted and it will be flourishing.
Yeah.
And the fifth one is the red serpent, which is the first energy, the first instinct energy that is going to give shape to something. So instinct of survival derives from the flourishing of the seed. The fifth one is a radical transformation. It's also the symbol of death. And it's the beginning, the end and the beginning of a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And seventh one, it's actually seven. Yeah, seven. It's the blue hand. So I was born on a day that was at midnight in between the world bridger, the death symbol, and the blue hand, which is the healing and organizing symbol.
Oh.
So uh, I have both. We all have 13 different symbols on our wave when we were born, but one specific one for the day you were born.
Mm.
And let me know if I'm getting too complex. If you have questions, because it might
Oh
help
yeah,
the
yeah.
audience.
So just to just to let our viewers know where we're at here. So we are talking with Miriam Cunha with Transvibrating, and she's going over the Mayan calendar and how that's relating to what we're going through in the world today. She's going into explaining a lot about that, and which I'm loving. So yeah. So that's where we're at with the calendar, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. If you've got any questions, be sure to type in there, and Miriam will be able to answer those for you. And so, Miriam, as you were talking about that, I sensed like a definite correlation between the symbols you were talking about and what I read in the tarot deck.
Exactly.
It's like the life
Yes,
journey. It's our ups and downs. It's the, the death, like the death and the beginnings, the death card, it's not about death itself, but it's about the end of a cycle and the start of a new. And I see
exactly.
like there's so many similarities
Yeah,
as
I
you're going
do.
down. I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I do tarot readings too, and I've been studying the tarot cards, and I definitely see a relationship. And I would like to. Well, I'm working on actually correlating each one of the symbols, but those are 20 symbols, and the tarot cards. Well, actually, we have the major arcana, which are 21 or 22, depending on the deck.
Yeah.
And then I was always wondering, where do I put those leftovers, one or two?
The leftovers.
But I'm still working on that correlation. And so those are basically what you said, the arcanas, the major arcanas that we are all diving into studying, and that's also to remember who we are, right? And
Right.
what are we doing? What are we doing with our personal creation of our own reality?
Hmm.
So I'm gonna skip the definition of each one of the symbols because that's would take too long, and we're running. Well, we still have time, but we don't have too much time on the
Yeah.
Gregorian.
Yeah. That's right.
So basically, you have those 20 symbols, and then you have
Hmm.
13 numbers. And this picture here shows the Mayan numbers together with the Arabic numbers we use. So the Mayan numbers are the dots and bars,
Hmm.
and they go from 1, 2, 3. So you see 3 dots is 3, 4 dots is 4. The bar is 5. So a bar with
Mm.
a dot is 6. A bar with 2 dots, 7, 8,
Oh
9,
yeah, yeah.
10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh my gosh, I'm reading hieroglyphics. I can count now.
And then on this calendar it goes only until 13, and it starts again 1, 2. So it goes in waves of 13.
Mm.
There are 20 waves of 13. So this is what is written here, 13 times 20.
Yeah.
And it creates that
Oh,
pattern of 260 keens, which means day.
okay.
But they use the word keen because it's not only one day, but it could be uh, as an entire cycle, or it can be 26,000 years.
Right.
And that works in and out, so it's infinite. So this is the combination, and the green ones are the portal days, the days that we receive more energy from the central sun of the galaxy.
Hmm.
And like I was showing before, where we are at in the world right now, we are on this last one here, the sun,
Hmm.
the cosmic. So we're going through the cosmic sun. It's transcending enlightenment. So
Huh.
this is big. We're transcending 26,000 years of history on this planet.
And
So
how
it
long is
is
this
huge.
cycle in? Like how, like when we say we're in this, is this like for today? Or is the
For
what's the time frame for this
for today,
being
for
the
today,
green, no, the green one that you were just putting on that we're
Oh
trans.
no, today we are on the red serpent 13 here, number 65 on the where my mouse is. We're here.
Okay. So what's that one in the bottom corner that you were talking about? That like what's that
Yeah, when I
again?
meant today, it's the things we're going through, not the day of today,
Okay.
because like explained before, this calendar relates to bigger cycles, right?
Right.
So in terms of 26,000 years, we are on the
Right.
last part of this cycle. On we're transcending the enlightenment, the cosmic enlightenment, transcending through cosmic enlightenment, which is the last symbol here, and that is
Okay.
where our humanity history is at right now. But it
So is
doesn't.
that the cycle that started in 2012 then?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Probably before, because the harmonic convergence started at the end of the 80s.
Hmm.
And since then, we have been experiencing a little bit of what was coming, and it's just peaking. And right now, it's kind of like when you think about the yin and yang symbol, we're going from one half to the other half, transitioning, and we're going to the light. We're coming from the dark, and it doesn't mean dark or light are one better than the other. It's just what it is. Both
Hmm.
together form everything we know. But we are transitioning in between one part and the other. And the other side is not liking it because it doesn't want to let go. So darkness is going to fight until the end so
Hmm.
that the light doesn't come. It's kind of like that, picturing the idea, and that's why we're seeing so much chaos right now.
Right.
Apparent chaos is just this opposition fighting
Yeah.
because
There's a
there
lot of
is.
opposition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to just become neutral to that because it is just the end of a big 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 cycle and the beginning of a huge cycle again, and it's interlacing. It's because it's not, there is no border that limits exactly on that one day. Okay, from one day to another we're going to be in another world. No, it's not like that because it's much bigger, so we cannot
Hmm.
really see it in one day. We're seeing it in years of our time here.
Yeah. We're just a blip on this
Yeah,
calendar
yeah,
when
yeah.
we're talking the cycles as long as that. Yeah. And we've got a comment here from Nikki. She says, this was when the insurgence of spirituality gained momentum in North America. The Kundalini energy had shifted over 30 years between the 80s and 2012.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still shifting.
It is still shifting. Yeah.
Yeah. we're,
Okay. So
we're
we have about
actually,
10 more
yeah.
minutes. So
You
so
want to
yeah,
go
we
to
have,
questions or?
um, yeah, if anyone's got any questions, go ahead and type them in the comments there. Oh yeah, look at those. There's 20 symbols. The how do you say that again?
Zolkin,
Tolkien?
Zolkin.
Zolkin. Zolkin. It's Tzolkin. Zolkin.
Yeah, so
Okay.
those are the arcanas that
All right, right.
mixed it with the frequency of the numbers create everything we know here in this galaxy.
Mm.
And I want to put that in. I had an insight time ago that this planet is an experiment because we have in this galaxy different kinds of beings, and not all of them get along very well. And here the human being was created with a DNA mix of several different kinds of beings.
Oh.
And that's why we are on this experiment, souls coming through this body to experiment this mix of DNAs of different beings to see if we can come to a consensus and harmony in between these species.
Right. Yes. Well. I feel like we're in a petri dish then. The planet Earth of petri dishes.
It is like that. If you think about that, you start looking at the different human beings, right? And they all look like they have some more of this one or the other one, but they're all mixed in a way or another.
Yeah. And so Nikki's got a question here. Do you work at all with the star seed types?
And Nikki, what do you mean, the star seed people who have been born here, who are enlightening us? Is that
Okay,
what you
so
mean?
yeah, so well, Nikki, if you can explain that a bit more in the comment, and then we'll post that up. And there's slight delay, so we'll just wait for her to have a chance to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Miriam, what are some of the things that you've done then for like shifting your business online? Like, do you find, I mean, a lot of the work that you were doing already can be done online, and you do distant work already. Have you found that with everybody being, you know, since we're in the COVID time right now, are you finding people reaching out to you more about kind of wanting to know, get some answers or some anything
Yeah,
like that? Or
I started using Zoom, which is, I think everybody in the world started using Zoom.
yeah.
Out of a sudden, everybody was on the spotlight. Zoom, which is it's a good thing. It's a learning about dealing with different realities. The um, not running away from your question, but I just remember the first time I got in contact with a computer and the internet was connected and you had that noise like,
Oh,
you remember that,
the dial-up
the
sound.
dial-up, yeah.
Who's old enough to remember that?
And then the
Yeah.
people were connected and you could talk with people from anywhere in the world, and I was like, holy, this is amazing, isn't it? It's teaching us how to actually use our own machine, the body, with telepathy and all of that. So this is a tool that we can actually use to understand our own capacity of learning with things. Yeah.
Well, everything's so much faster now. Like our info is faster. Like, anyone remember the Encyclopedia Britannica set? You know,
Yeah.
I remember those. It's like, okay, now it's just like Google question, what is it? And we get it so instantly too.
And you see
So
that
that has sped up.
all those tools have different ways you can use it. It can be used for good things and for bad things. So it's all about us choosing what do we want to use those tools for. Because before the computers, I always thought computers were the mark of the beast.
And here we
but,
are.
but I couldn't get out of the computers anymore. But then it's the use you make out of all this technology that it's important, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, so just to wrap up from what you shared with us on with the slides that you were showing us. So, from what I gathered from that is with the Mayan calendar and this calendar you're referring to here, that the cycles are in like 26,000 of years, like they're long cycles. And right now we are in the midst of a shift, and it's not a day shift, it's not a year shift. This is like a lifetime of a shift for
Hmm.
us, and
Yes.
beyond that as well. And so what advice do you have for people who feel or who are feeling these shifts? Like, and like, what do you suggest for them to do to kind of help them feel more centered?
There are several layers to that. Uh, First of all, become neutral to the outside happenings right now, because the happenings are a little bit chaotic, a little bit, no, very chaotic. And if you start feeling that your emotional is too involved with the drama that is happening outside, step out of that and become an observer
Mm,
and go in and check how your system is, because we need to keep our body, our physical body, in harmony right now, especially our heart. I was
yeah.
just listening about that last night. A guy was emphasizing the importance of the heart right now, because our hearts are like so pounding, and all these emotions, and lots of people might start having heart attacks because of that, because they can't cope with that. So if you feel that you're getting too emotionally involved, stop looking at that for a while until you become neutral again and are able to dive into this again. And
Right.
when I say dive in, it's because if we're here incarnated on this planet at this time and moment, we are to be interacting with what's happening in one way or another. So we have to meditate to find inside of ourselves which is our individual position or mission or role into all of this. Every one
Mm.
of us has a different role. Some of us are here to explain, some of us are here to heal. Some of us are here to dream and bring information, channel, and some of us are here to go on the front line and fight because that's the experience you choose. So it's about a choice we made before we came here. We're all here knowing we came for this moment, and
Mm.
we are the only ones who can actually dive into ourselves to know what we came here for. This Mayan calendar tool helps a lot to
Mhm.
understand what you came here for, but ultimately it's all inside of you.
Right.
And meditation, nature, take care of your what you're eating, especially what your ears are eating.
Oh, what your ears are eating. Yeah.
Yeah,
And what we're listening to and what
yeah,
we're surrounding ourselves with.
yeah.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
eyes, right? Yeah.
Right. Right. So Nikki expanded on her question there. She was asking if you work with the star seed type. So by that, she meant like reptilians, Pleiadians, Arcturians. That's
Yes.
like a whole other show right there. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if you can
I
want
can
to
say
tap
yes,
onto
yes I
that.
do. Yes I do.
Yeah.
I avoid some, but I work with the other ones.
Okay.
When I first started studying about extraterrestrial beings and UFOs, I actually went to every single event in Brazil there was about UFOs. I was obsessed with that team at one point, and I thought all of the extraterrestrials were good and they were coming here to save us. And then I started realizing that there were all kinds of beings, like just like our humanity,
Right.
right? And you want to deal with somebody, maybe you don't want to deal with some other ones, but ultimately we should make peace with everybody, with all the beings.
Yeah, and that reminds us they touched on that too in Ancient Aliens too on Netflix. So I was like, yeah,
Mm,
you gotta watch that.
yeah,
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Miriam, before we wrap up?
let me see. Well, basically, what we were talking, right? Neutrality. When you think about the yin and yang symbol, you see
Hmm.
that's the S line in between the two halves. That is the neutral line.
Oh,
And
oh,
in
yeah.
the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, you also have that middle column, which is the neutral line. And on the Mayan calendar, you also have the middle line. And we have our
Okay.
spine, right? That actually it's the middle line of our two sides of our bodies. And if you actually look at one side of you and the other one, you're different one side from the other, but you have
Right.
your center, your spine. So be centered, connect with the center every time you feel like you're tending too much to one side or the other and you're feeling unbalanced and your energy is being dragged, because some beings that live on this planet right now, the ones that are controlling the system at this point, they feed out of energy of fear
Hmm.
and anger, and that is a reality. And that's why they create all these dramas for us, and we dive into it and we're just feeding that. So
Yeah.
if you feel that you're feeding that, step out and
Hmm.
meditate and go walk bare feet on nature, have a swim at the lake, listen to some music, sing, dance, and then you can go back into the drama again and experience what you came here to experience.
Right. But from that place of neutrality, though, so that we don't get sucked into the
Yeah,
drama and
yeah,
spun around and we're getting all like, I can't handle this anymore. It's just too much. And that's where we need to come back to center
yeah.
and have that balance. And
In a
yeah.
smaller scale, you can see that sometimes you're in a store. I don't know if that have happened to you, but you're in an you're looking at something in a store, and then there's nobody on that aisle, but then out of a sudden these people start coming and they stand right beside you, and then you start feeling like your energy is like it's like, oh, okay. I don't know if I feel like donating my energy right now. Whether you can ask yourself, should I donate energy to this person in need or not? But it's the same thing. Is this drama the system, the drama that is happening in the system right now? It's sucking the energy. It's desperately sucking for energy,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
laughing
And yeah.
breaks down with that laughing.
Laughter.
Laughter,
Okay. So
yeah,
we need to be
breaks down.
centered. We feel ourselves getting pulled into many directions. Center ourselves with meditation and do some laughter,
Yeah,
and that will
and that
help us.
that is the reason why, because some people have called my attention that I am talking about serious things and I'm laughing
Mhm.
all the time, but it's just I'm just breaking down with the seriousness of
Right.
the drama of the.
Oh, and we got Tina here watching. She says, "Thank you, Miriam, for all of your shared wisdom." Yes, thank you,
Thank you,
Miriam.
Tina,
Thank
and
you
thank
for
you,
sharing.
Tina, for your amazing project that
Yeah.
both Carly and I are part of it. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, Tina is the founder of the Metaphysical School, and myself and Miriam are both on the faculty, and we are working on putting up some tutorial videos for the school. So you can go check that out at Metaphysical
Yeah.
School. Tina's got like it's just launched like this month or last month. So yeah, yeah. Can you believe it, Tina? It's already been that long. She's like. All right. Well, thank you, Miriam, for being on this on the show here today. Thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom, and for explaining the calendar and how there's not going to be the end of the world. We're just shifting in cycles, and we're transitioning, and this is a time of transition for us. And
Yeah, so some things that as we know, will end, right? But we should be okay with that because we're embracing new things. It's like going from a teenager to an adulthood, and you don't have some things from when you were a teenager, and you have new things because now you're an adult, and now I'm growing old, and I have new white hair here, so you have to embrace it.
Oh, that's great. All right. So thanks, Miriam. And just stay in the studio here. We'll just chat for a bit after. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks everybody for watching and for tuning in. Again, if you're watching on the replay, just let us know. Type in replay, and we'll be monitoring this for any questions that you may have as well. Join us again next week, next Tuesday. I will have another guest on. I believe I have Shannon Bliss with Health is Bliss, and she does live blood analysis as well as she is a holistic nutritionist. So we will be talking with her next week. Thank you for watching. Till next week. Bye.